This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
Hey, I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Jason, what do you have on tap for us today?
Well, tonight I got something that, it's from a creative team that longtime readers and listeners will know that I am totally in the tank for. I'm talking about the latest collaboration from Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, Night Fever. Now, it's like I guess it bears mentioning that these guys have been working together for a very long time, like well over a decade at this point. Like first starting work on the Batman one shot, Gotham Noir. They've since continued to collaborate together. It's like on some of my all time favorite comics, specifically Sleeper, story of a undercover or like an undercover agent in a and the guy who was working in an evil organization for the Wildstorm universe, and all the troubles he underwent in order to try and do the right thing, retain a sense of self, like in a very amoral, and like morally duplicitous setting. It's like a fantastic comic. And I recommend, and like it's been republished multiple times, like in season formats and omnibus formats, and yeah, it's like go ahead and like you can pick it up in whatever format you get because like Sleeper really is that good. And even though it didn't sell all that well, like I said, it's like it garnered enough like critical acclaim, it's like and like cult success that these that Phillips and Brubaker continue to work together on just about everything they've well that Sean Phillips has done since then, because Brubaker's got like a bit more versatility to work as a writer and all, but because he's also like gone on to work in Hollywood projects such as the first season of Westworld and the Amazon series Too Old to Die Young. But they've since worked together on the crime series like Criminal. It's like the superhero series, like superhero noir series. It's like Incognito. It's like and it's like and the it's like in the supernatural series Fatale and the vigilante action series Killer Be Killed. And they've also branched out into like original graphic novels because like they did a great one about called Pulp, which is about a former cowboy slash cattle rustler who basically made a living like telling tales of his illicit exploits, but then like wound up losing his job and then getting recruited into a plan to rob some American Nazis in the in the 1930s. It's like it's really great. It's really good, and it's also like a really good example of how to write for the present day without actually like telling a story set in the present day. It's like, and it deservedly won an Eisner, one of several they've won actually. And it's also like the first thing they did that preceded their most recent series, which is like led them to like even greater success. The Reckless series of graphic novels about troubleshooter Ethan Reckless, a former FBI plant who now works as as a troubleshooter. It's like for people who can get a hold of him and like have a convincing case for him to work on. Phillips and Brubaker did 5 graphic novels in the Reckless series before they decided that it's like we need to take a break and all. And taking a break for them does not mean just stopping work. It means that they got to find something else to work on in order to like keep their creative juices flowing. This is how we got Night Fever, their latest collaboration. And if I'm being honest, probably the one where I was like, most concerned about when I read the solicitation, because like the idea is that this is about this takes place in the late 1970s, 1978 to be specific, and is about a foreign sales agent for a book company, a guy by the name of Jonathan Webb, and the the solicitation for this basically said that, hey, here's a guy who is just like living, just like has an ordinary job. It's like he's like going through the motions, but he's married, got 2 kids, and what happens to him when he goes off to this book conference in Paris and just gets a taste of the nightlife when this other dude he meets introduces him to like this other side of the night and all, like it's like a world without rules or limits. And then what happens when the stuff he's introduced to turns dangerous. It's like what does he have to do? It's like it sounded like a pretty straightforward, like, oh, ordinary guy gets a taste of, like, of danger, and then, oh, has to, like, decide what does he want to do. It's like, does he want to, like, like dive into this new exciting world, or does he, like, try to find a way to pack it all back up and then just get back to his to his real life and all. I it's like I was kind of skeptical about that, after reading this, because it sounded like a pretty like a pretty familiar setup. And also, it's like I've read enough of these to know that, hey, chances are it's like our protagonist, Mr. Webb, is probably going to, like, find a way to, fight back to his old life and just, like, reject everything that he's that he's encountered over this trip. But there might be some, like, lingering stinger that causes him to, question, everything about his life and all. And, it's like, I guess you could say the worst thing about Night Fever is that everything I've said is true. That is kind of the basic thrust of this, like, of this graphic novel. It's like, and if you're looking for like Brubaker and Phillips to, like, break new narrative ground, like, to, like, basically upend your expectations about the kind of story that's being told here, then yeah, I hate to say, you're gonna be disappointed. And that's not a bad thing, because, even big creative teams disappoint from time to time. That being said, actually reading this, when I finally got my hands on it like a month ago, this actually turned out to be more engaging than I was expecting it to be. Because, it's like it's one thing to, like, to have a familiar story about, a guy coming into contact with, like, the secret urban nightlife, like in the underground of a familiar foreign city. But Brubaker and Phillips actually did a really good job of selling its protagonist's mentally unease from the go. From the opening couple pages, where it's just, him retelling a like an encounter where he's just like where he just, like, overslept and just, like, blew off a like an encounter, like a book encounter from another agent. It's like, and just kind of lets you know that how he is, like his, like, this Johnson's life is going, like, off kilter from the start. But then you get to the like the start of the narrative proper, when he's, reading this story from a up and coming author by the name of Dan Pickett, and he reads this and goes and encounters a dream sequence that that is strikingly like a dream that he had from, from his college days. Basically, that of a caveman who killed a bunch of people for the fire around campfire. It's like, and just, just wondering, like, who is the real person here. So he's already, like, thrown off a bit by there. But then he's also just, has to deal with, like the insomnia that he gets on this particular trip, and how eventually leads him to wander the night streets of Paris. It's like, and follow a couple in masks down to this strange place, where he basically winds up just, saying, "Hey, it's like, I'm this guy, I'm Griffin. So can you let me in?" And he's able to bluff his way into this underground place with, drugs, sex, fighting, gambling, and he's he finds himself actually, like, surprisingly, like, in his element here, because he's realizes that the secret to passing off as himself here is that he's not Jonathan Webb. He is just some other guy. He is Griffin. Like, Griffin is, like, all cool, calm, collected. He knows the score. It's like, and he leaves this place, intact, with up $5,000 from gambling. It's great. It's fantastic. And then he gets hit by a car because, apparently, like, some people have it in for this Griffin. But then he's rescued by this random guy, calls himself Rainer, and it's like, and as Rainer, like, helps him, brushes him off, gets him to a safe place, and then as Jonathan is, like, washing himself off, cleaning himself up, and just realizes, like, yeah, this is enough for me. I gotta go home and all. Like, I go back my hotel room. It's like, Ranger says, "Hey, I made some calls. It's like, I found out where these guys beat you up. went. They're celebrating some bistro. You want to go get them? And John's like, I don't know. It's like, hey, Rainer's like, no, hey, like you seem like the kind of guy who's just like, hey, you're on vacation, you're just being like some sort of tourist, or are you gonna be the guy who's just like who wants to go and like get like your revenge for what's done to him? And Jonathan's like, let's go get him. So that's so it's so yeah, it's a familiar story, but Brubaker and Phillips actually do a good job of giving the story enough like solid details. It's from like they do a good job like of sketching out Webb's like suburban middle aged, like he's 47, like his malaise like at middle life and just at middle age, and just realizing that, hey, it's like I wanted to be someone at this time. It's like I mean, yeah, I'm a foreign sales agent for a book company right now, but I wanted to be a writer and all. And then he's also listening to Rainer's stories like, hey, people build their own cages, like for what they've, for what they've for like for their own lives now. It's like like they think about they talk about their regrets and all, but they basically like created this cell they've put themselves in, and it's clear that like through Rainer, it's like Jonathan sees a way to get out of this thing, and yeah, it's like there's a lot of like like crazy stuff here. It's like they take part in a burglary. They go to a like a chateau where like a contact of Rainer's is in order to like get payment for a job. And while Jonathan like winds up taking a drink that's like full of drugs. It's like kind of like from the bar there. And then he even meets some aliens that are actually like the real like power behind everything that we know and all. And it's like I said, there's a lot of interesting weird stuff here. But then obviously things take a turn, and it turns out that, hey, maybe Rainer, like this friendly like guy who's got all the connections, he's not the good friend that Jonathan thought he was. It's like like there's some stuff involving the author that that Jonathan like thought who stole the it's like that dream he had earlier from. It's like, and it's like and things take a turn, but also it's like it's refreshing to see that Jonathan is not the complete dupe that you'd expect for this kind of story. He's got his own agency, and he's got at least half a brain to realize that maybe I don't want to go into the hotel that Rainer told me to meet at. It's like, because maybe there's like something else going on here. So that's kind of refreshing. I mean, even though it's like I said, even though Night Fever is kind of predictable in like the overall thrust of the story that it's telling, there's like I said, there's enough like details specific to the place, to its characters, that make it still make it compelling. That at least that maybe like invested in it's like in Johnson's like it's like in Johnson's story. It's like, and while Brubaker's writing does do a good job of supplying these details, Phillips's art is really incredible. I mean, even though it's like it's not really asking him to do anything that he hasn't done before in terms of like telling a really grounded story, like in a it's like in a familiar landscape with with realistic characters. It's like like it said, it's really well rendered, and also like the parts where it feels like we're getting in the like the interiority of Webb's life. It's like when he's like visualizing that dream that dream sequence that the author like he thinks the author stole from his head, or when he gets like blitzed to hell at that chateau. It's like and starts seeing the aliens. It's like that stuff. It's like it's really well communicated as well. I mentioned that there's while these guys have worked together like so often that they're really in sync. There's sometimes there are parts where it's like it doesn't feel like that everything syncs up 100%. Like the parts where in the first volume of Reckless, where we're told that Ethan is like is like a rage filled monster. It's like it's like we didn't quite and Phillips didn't quite communicate that in his art. That's a rare artistic misfire with with them, but here it's like they are perfectly in sync, and it's like and it's really and it works to really sell the story being told here. Even when you get to the end and you get that stinger where Jonathan is just kind of like left conflicted. It's like about everything that's happened. It's like it actually hits home, and you realize that it's like he's upset about everything that's happened. That he's gonna have to like live with all the awful stuff that he did with Raynor and to Raynor as well. So, the thing is though, it's like I guess in the end, it's like while I did enjoy Night Fever more than I was expecting to, based on the setup, but at the same time though, it's like this probably isn't it's like maybe like the best like introduction you could give to someone for like to the Brubaker Phillips canon. As I said, Sleeper is like for me is like it's their all-time best work. But hey, if you wanted to like give them like a good modern day entry point, then the Reckless graphic novels are really excellent points of entry as well. Night Fever, like I said, I think it does a good job of giving enough specific detail to a familiar story to make it interesting. But at the same time, I'm willing to acknowledge that I am someone who is in the tank for these creators. I'm willing to like look. I want to say I want that they're going to. I want to look deeper into what they're saying and just say this is what they're really going for here. So it's entirely possible that some people could just look at this and go, it's like, oh, it's just like the formulaic story about a guy visiting like a foreign country and just coming face to face with like the opportunities it represents. It's like the evil opportunities it represents, and think it kind of feeling it represents like like a fairly standard issue story. So there's that, but I didn't, like I said, I enjoyed it more than I was expecting to, and it still leaves me thoroughly in the tank for the creators, and also their next graphic novel, which I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but it's going to be a like a story about how a murder affects a specific community, and how it's like and how like everyone in that community deals with it. The ripples that come out from it as well, which does sound pretty. It sounds more interesting than the setup we got from Night Fever, which good hey, good for them. But it's like it doesn't take a lot to get me to like get invested in a new Brubaker Phillips collaboration. That being said, my hope is that after they're done with this next one, we'll get the next Reckless graphic novel, because they've basically said that there's still more to the story of Ethan Reckless than what we've got in these 5 graphic novels so far. So yeah, I am like still in the tank for Brubaker and Phillips, and hey, there's plenty of reasons for everyone else to be in the tank as well.
Well, that sounds pretty good. Well, definitely worth picking up then, you'd say?
Yeah, it's for everyone who's already on board the Brubaker Phillips train. Absolutely. Everyone who isn't, go read pick up like Sleeper, like either like the omnibus format, or pick up like the first Reckless book for like a good like no frills entry to take what makes them great.
Okay. Well, do you know what you're going to be talking about next time?
Going to be one of two things. Either it's going to be the Sins of Sinister X-Men event, or maybe depending on how you feel, John, this podcast could be going where it could be boldly going where it has not gone before.
We might actually go there. So, all right. Well, that sounds good. And we'll catch you next time on Comic Picks by the Glick.
Right. Later, everyone.
See ya.